Good morning and good afternoon, and welcome to episode 69 of the Leading IT podcast. Today, we're going to talk about enterprise AI adoption with Picture Partners CIO Brett Johnstone. If you're a returning listener, thank you for joining us again. If you're new, our podcast is for Australian IT leaders. So if you're looking to stay up to date with the latest news and trends in AI, cybersecurity, low-code, cloud and infrastructure, strategy and leadership. Your hosts are leading CIO Tom Layden, me, Josh Rubens. I'm the CEO at Empyrean IT, and we tackle the fast-changing IT landscape from both sides of the client-vendor paradigm with pragmatic and actionable advice. I'm really excited about having Brett on board. We've done a lot of recent episodes talking about AI, but today we're going to get to hear some, war stories from someone who's actually doing it out there in the enterprise. Welcome, Brett. G'day, Tom. How are you?
G'day. Yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah, and just a big thanks to your event last night. I've come up okay, but it was a good. You've mixed IT and wine together in the right mix, Josh. I thought it was very good.
My two great passions, besides my wife, of course, and my kids. And Brett, this is your third time, so you're our favourite.
I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to chat to the two of you, and particularly on this topic, which I'm super passionate about. Love working in this area.
Before we get into it, do you want to, for those listeners who are not familiar with you, do you want to maybe give them a quick brief on your background and what you do?
Yeah, sure. I've been working in IT now for 35 plus years. CIO here at Pitch Partners for the last two. I'm very fortunate in my role here. Pitch Partners is an independent member of the Global Baker Tilly Network, which is about, I think we're across 143 territories and over 40,000 people in the network. And I'm part of the Global Technology Committee for Baker Tilly International, and I chair their AI and automation focus group, which is a great opportunity for me to talk to people all around the world around how they're tackling what we're going to talk about today, particularly Copilot and just leveraging AI technologies and really the hype that we're seeing, that no doubt we'll talk about today, is happening all over the world as well, which I guess we'll get to, but really appears to be leading to unrealistic expectations in my mind.
Yes, that's a very good point, actually. We should get into that later on, I think.
We will. If I hear agentic one more time, I'm going to vomit in my mouth. All right, so let's we'll get into the news. Brett, you can give us your views. The first one is more for some of the listeners who are a little more hybrid cloud focused. Is Broadcom announced vSphere 9 in beta coming up, so it's a very big update for them. Couple of highlights on there. They've got advanced NVMe memory tiering, so the ability to sort of automatically place data closer to the CPU that's accessed regularly. Live patching for VMware, so without having to take VMware down at all or move things evacuate virtual machines from hosts, encryption, and vSAN replication and recovery has been enhanced snapshots and orchestration. So for customers out there who are still using VMware, there's definitely some really good features there, particularly that vSAN replication and recovery, because it'll allow you to bring down your RPO to as low as 1 minute, which is a lot better than was previously or currently available with vSAN. Right, getting into the Microsoft and the more relevant stuff for today's conversation. The first point I want to make is Microsoft's earnings. So they generated $70.1 billion in revenue and $25.8 billion net income, which was the best ever quarterly revenue and profit totals in Microsoft's history. So I just wanted to open that up to Brett and Tom for any comments on that.
It's good, but that means we're paying for it, doesn't it? Is it? Brett thinks this is like, hey, we're paying too much for them. Yes. Well, good strategy. Well done to them from a strategy point of view. Very, very good. Yeah. Brett, what's your thoughts though?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to draw on that and your other point. We leverage Azure It's a fantastic service. It's a expanding service, but we are really questioning exactly what should be on Azure based on performance, value, resiliency, redundancy, and we're starting to think about where we might move back to private cloud. We probably won't come back to colo, but it's great service, but it's a bit like a Gartner subscription. You only get value out of it if you manage it and use it. Azure's the same. It just grows too easily. We are really focused with our managed service provider. We're looking at daily usage reports now because we want to catch that spike early, because a spike of $500 in a day, by the time you pick it up a month later, that's thousands
Too
of
late.
dollars.
Yeah.
So yeah, good for Microsoft. They've got a great product. We love it, but just be conscious of what you're paying for.
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple of 2 or 3 points on it, mate. One is that it's their best in their history, so that's huge. And a couple of quarters ago, there was concern about their what was considered excessive investment in AI, and they weren't getting a return. So clearly, they are.
Yeah.
So it looks like things are turning around, and their strategy has been good. The comment you make about the returning on prem. We had a customer. I'm not going to say who it is, but their monthly AWS bill is more than $200,000.
Yeah, right.
A month, and they're just doing virtual machines. So what's that over 3 years? That's what's that 2 before? Nearly $7 million over. So you could do that on prem for probably 1.5. So it's hard to think about and justify for definitely for if they're not using platform services and it's just IaaS. That's interesting. The other comment that I thought was also interesting is Satya Nadella had a fireside chat with Mark Zuckerberg at the Meta LlamaCon conference, and he said that 20 to 30% of their code was written by AI. And the projection was by Microsoft CTO Kevin Scott that by 2030, 95% of all code to be AI generated. So, wow, that's a lot.
No surprise there. Does that mean we're going to have less programmers? No, I think they're just going to do different things. I think a programmer starts by getting code generated for them, and then they optimize and review and make sure, test it. That'd be a good thing for programmers to do. But yeah, we say there's a lot of this noise around, hang on, AI is actually going to start replacing jobs. It's interesting. I don't think, there's some noise about AI generating more work for programmers, though. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think it's I'm with you. I think the programmers that embrace AI will have an outstanding career. I think historically, in particularly web development, you needed a user experience, a UX designer. I think you still do in terms of the journeys and how a user engages. But from a UI point of view, V0 is a great online tool for generating user interfaces and so on.
Spot on. Yeah.
I think you're going to be able to have more narrow specialization and then broader capability through AI. And I think those that get onto that and leverage that are on a winner. And out of all the AI hype, that's one of the forecasts that I fundamentally have no questioning, and I can see that happening for sure.
Yeah.
And have you heard, Brett, about this new sort of term from Gartner talking about agent sprawl, where, you've got a few years' time, you've got 2,000 agents and no one knows what they are. The guy who built them is gone, and how are we going to manage it, and how are we going to do governance, and how are we going to do security?
Yeah.
So what's and it looks like the Microsoft are very focused on addressing that need, and particularly in some of the things we're going to talk about in the Wave 2 release, that it looks like they're very focused on addressing that. How real do you think that is, Brett?
Look, let's hope they've learned, and we've all learned from the Excel macro scenario that we all have today. It's not a dissimilar problem. And And for us, we're an accounting firm. We use Excel all the time. We got lots of macros, and yes, we have more than we'd like, and we are tackling the security side of that really, really well. It's not a major issue. It's not ideal. It's not best practice. Again, I'm not convinced we're going to have thousands of agents because I just don't think it's actually practical. And I will preface everything we say today is that could all change in 3 to 6 months. This is moving very, very quickly. I'm just thinking that practicalities will lead to an environment where we're just not going to have thousands of agents that we can't control. I think if you genuinely have a business process or environment where you could leverage that, then you just have to implement the orchestration and the governance up front, or to some extent. I just think it's not going to get that far away, because I think once you get to 500 or 1,000, it's unmanageable. You're unlikely to, continue that sprawl. But it's a good conversation to have now, right? Because I think Microsoft they've got a diagram which talks about, at the moment, we've got humans and some agents, and then we've got humans and agents, and we've got agents and a human, or something like that. I'm optimistic that as we progress down that journey, we will sort that out. And, we've got hundreds and hundreds of staff that all could create macros. They're not. If citizen developers can create agents all by themselves, I'm not convinced, but it could be a good problem to have.
Yeah. I think speaking to a guy from Microsoft recently about it, and he said it's actually it's a similar problem that we had with Power Platform, right? So if anyone can create apps, so it's almost a solved problem. So having the center of excellence and the governance platform and setting all that up. So yes, I feel it is a bit of a solved problem and not so much potentially of an issue, and Microsoft are well placed because that those tools are already there. I'll get into quickly, just run through some of the major releases, because this came out on April 23rd. So there was a couple of aspects. So firstly, mostly around a new or an updated M365 Copilot app. So they have now AI-powered search. So they've now have vector search baked in to M365 Copilot. So the ability to find stuff across your data and also third-party connected data, third-party apps like ServiceNow, Confluence, Jira. So you'll get answers to your data. So the fact that it's built into the M365 Copilot app, that's pretty good. That's a big issue. So I feel like that's happened quickly.
But I wonder, Josh, there's a fair bit of work actually pointing your apps towards this, right, behind the scenes? I mean, I'm assuming it doesn't magically just work, right?
Well, it'll magically work across your data, and then you've got to connect it to, if there's third-party applications, you're going to have to set up, and they'll have to be
connect it all up and tell it what's what,
and your DLP policies and all that sort of stuff. You'd have to, be based on what you're allowed to have access to. There's a new agent store, so where you can have pre-built agents. So they've announced, I don't know if you saw this, 2 agents called Researcher and Analyst. Don't know if you saw that. So researcher is an agent that will act like a researcher. So doing a multi-step research across your data, and it will show you, I don't know if you've seen the demo, it will show you what it's doing, what its thinking is. You can connect and bring different data into it. So that looks really cool. And then the analyst is like a data analyst. So it will search through databases, also third-party data sources as well. And you can just click on that, bring in your sources. That's a self-driven That's a user-driven process, so they can access those agents. And then even more interesting is they've got access to an agent store within. It's almost like the App Store in Teams through the M365, where you can access agents from third parties like ServiceNow, et cetera, all through that M365 Copilot. So that feels like, Brett, a lot of cool stuff in a short period of time.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's and it's pretty exciting. The being able to leverage the reasoning capabilities of these new models is amazing. I have 2 thoughts though. One is a lot of these features and functionalities have been available for months with ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and other models. Having said that, it's only taken Microsoft a few months to bring it in, so that's pretty quick. But this is moving so fast. I know a lot of our staff are like, well, when's Copilot going to have the features I can get from ChatGPT, Perplexity, and so on? And I'm saying it'll just take a couple of months. And they're like, oh, I don't want to wait a couple of months to be there instantly. So that's just the nature of how it's going to work. And I think Microsoft's done a pretty good job to get it in as quickly as it has. I do think, I think two things. I think we're really excited about how we can leverage these capabilities in Copilot. I do believe with our testing, and we'll talk about this later, no doubt, we do a lot of training on how to use Copilot, particularly around prompting. And that's why I believe we're being successful. I do believe the use of these agents or models or so on is going to result in a tweak in how we train people in prompting, in leveraging this. I think that's fine and that's good, but I think it's something we have to consciously tackle, not just, hey everyone, here's some new features, go nuts.
Yeah, and I think the Microsoft, the messaging is they are they're creating magic every 6 to 8 weeks, so they're on a 6 to 8 week release cycle, and I think the point is, to the users is, well, if you want to use the secure governed platform via Microsoft, you need to wait the 6 to 8 weeks versus going and using the consumer products. Yes, the features are coming out quickly, but they generally, they don't have purview, they're not secured. They don't have all the enterprise stuff that you would need in an organization of your size. So I think that's the choice between using a platform versus, we're going to use a lot of the consumer products that will be faster but won't have the enterprise features that you would want.
And for a company like Microsoft to be delivering releases in 6 to 8 weeks actually sounds pretty amazing. That's not to say they can't do better and may not do better, but that's pretty good.
And the last one I wanted to do was they're adding memory and personalization for Copilot. So it can learn how you work, your needs, your preferences through chats, job profile, custom instructions. And it's private and instructions for tone and style. And you can go in and add, remove what it remembers about you.
Oh,
so
good.
Learn about you. So that's pretty cool. There was a lot of news in the less sort of sexy stuff around what they call the Copilot control system. So where they're addressing this Copilot sprawl around security and governance, the purview, posture management for AI. So it will allow administrators to look at data security risks associated with agents or accessing data, the analytics to measure organizational impact on the business. So there'll be reports in there because we have spoken about it previously, how you're going to measure the ROI. So that's going to be in there. In the admin center, the Microsoft M365 admin center can manage all your licensing. There's a Copilot Studio agent report. So if you're using Copilot Studio, it will show you everything that's going on in there. So there's a lot. I'm not going to go through all of it because there's quite a lot. But yeah, they're really focusing on that governance and security and visibility into what's happening with your bots, and if you're starting to move into agents. So I think that's I feel like the Microsoft strategy of trying to be the center of the AI universe, it looks like it's working. That makes you feel more comfortable, Brett, Tom, around all these security features?
Security features are good from an enterprise point of view, but the end users, to Brett's comment, they've already got all this on ChatGPT or Grok. So when we turn around and say, hey, we're not doing that, we're doing the Microsoft version, users don't appreciate the behind-the-scenes work that's going on. That leads to frustration. But if you can turn around in 6 to 8 weeks, say, actually, those features are coming, here they are, that does alleviate some of the pain. But Brett, are you getting much pushback from users around that space?
Yeah, a little bit. And we just go back to, we're a professional services organization. And we do trust in the Microsoft security model. We're on Azure. we've got our data there. We use M365 Copilot. The more security and governance that they can put around that for us gives us more confidence that we can use that. But yeah, I would say pretty regularly someone comes to me and goes, well, yeah, but ChatGPT does this or this does that. And I'm like, well,
tough luck.
Fitting it will catch up in the model. You just have to give it time. But that's worth it from security and from a security and privacy point of view.
Yeah. Yep. And Microsoft announced passwordless day, World Passless Day. So from May 1, any new Microsoft account is passwordless by default. So the new passwordless future.
Good.
I thought that was interesting. All right, that's all the news. So, Tom, did you have any other news? Anything else you want to bring up?
You know what? I want to hear more from Brett. I don't want to hear any more news.
Me too. Let's get in. All right, Brett. So tell us what you've been doing at Pitches with AI.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting question. I guess, so I started nearly 2 years ago, which was really just not long after the hype of ChatGPT's release and so on. In a previous firm, we'd done a little bit of playing around, but nothing serious. What I was really impressed with back then through the interview process 2 years ago, I was getting lots of questions around my thoughts on the role AI may play in professional services and accounting. So from day one, I had some support and encouragement to really investigate what AI might do for our firm. So long story short, I guess on that is the IT strategy within Pitch Partners is very much about enabling great client outcomes. And we do that by enabling our staff. And a key part of that enabling that we're looking at is a strategy around automation and thus AI-enabled automation. So I really think where AI is going to play the biggest role for us is in AI automation and less about chatbots. Although we do have some proof of concept chatbots that we have built using a RAG model on Azure OpenAI, which are really interesting. So based on that strategy to look at AI and automation, we tried to get onto Copilot as soon as we could, and we begged Microsoft to be an early adopter. We missed out on that boat. So come the 1st of November, nearly 2 years ago, we dived in. So we're doing really well with Copilot. We're about half the firms on Copilot, and the stats and data I have shows that our use of Copilot per person is increasing over the last 3 months. And maybe I'll take a step back. So when we talk about AI at Pitch Partners, I frame it in terms of 3 categories. And the 3 categories, from least interesting to most interesting, I guess, is AI that's just coming or exists in line of business apps, right? That's just going to come, every app's going to have some sort of AI in it, whether it's marketing or real, whether it's practical or not. You can't sell a product these days and not have AI in it. And for part of our business, particularly in audit, there's some really great products that leverage AI and have for many years. It's not new. So those we treat as any other application and love that there might be AI in there. The second bucket I just call Copilot or Copilots.
Yep.
Which we can come back to. And the third one where I think is really interesting is looking at custom apps, or what some people call small language models, custom agents, general AI versus generative AI and machine learning, and that whole bucket. So if I talk about that first, our strategy there is to invest in building a very basic, fundamental sort of infrastructure model that allows us to do proof of concept AI applications.
Yeah, cool.
And we're using chat as the way to prove concepts, and most of them to date are based on a retrieval augmented generation model, a RAG model. Talk to your own chat with your own documents. And we are starting to look at where we can perhaps get generative AI to help make some very simple decision support in terms of business process. So, for example, is this document that the client sent us what we asked for? Yes or no? If it is, go here. If not, go here. So some simple things. And from my team, we've hired some additional capacity, but the capacity we build internally on this platform is all about proving concepts and value. I'm not sure we should or could productionize any of these concepts, because I don't believe we should invest in that level of skills and competency. So we are talking to lots of partners in the market.
Yeah, right.
2, 3 at the moment. One who we're partnering with to help us build this environment, and that's going pretty well. So building some custom apps. We've got about 3 or 4 on the go at the moment, and continuing our deployment of Copilot, but doing that in a very structured, managed way, which at most we can do about 30 or so a month.
Okay, so that's 30 Copilots a month, is what you're saying, or what's
Sorry,
30 a month?
30 users per month.
Yeah.
Because we are not just giving people Copilot licenses and saying go nuts.
Right. Yep.
We're doing adoption workshops. So you get your license, you attend an adoption workshop, and then we review your usage over time.
Ah, very good. Josh, you're on mute, mate. So
maybe tell us about that user adoption, because that's I don't know if anyone else is doing that. Maybe talk, if you're able to talk a little bit about how you're doing that.
Yeah, sure. So I think when we first implemented Copilot, we gave it to 30 users, and we said, how's it going, and so on. And what we expected to happen was we expected to realize or identify a whole bunch of use cases that we could go, ta-da, and then we'd find people in the business that would use that use case and give them a Copilot license. And that's not what happened. And if I can be quite frank about it, I always argue that Copilot actually doesn't do most things very well. It's very limited in what it does well. And it only does 3 things. There's only 3 use cases for Copilot. I mean, this is a bit generic, right? But it's great at search, great at summarization, and it's great at generating content.
Yep. And
within each of those 3, there's 1,000 different, very personalized use cases. So that first concept of finding those killer use cases didn't work. So then we realized that a lot of people's expectations around what Copilot would do, their expectations were very different to what I'm saying, those 3 things. So that led to, in the early days, a lot of people going, well, Copilot's rubbish, I'm not going to use it. And then we started finding some use cases where people found it does something very narrow and small really, really well. So we sort of switched our mindset to say, for us, Copilot is about finding the 1 million $1 ideas, as opposed to the $1 million idea. So we're looking for those little use cases that say 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes at a time. And if we can get a few of those a month, then it's going to pay for the $45, whatever it is per user per month.
Great.
Yeah, that's really good.
But to do that, we've really doubled down on prompt training.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And we've got our own framework, and there's a whole bunch now around how you prompt. But we have a prompt framework for generating content, which is very different to prompts for search and summarization.
Very good. I love the $1 million $1 ideas.
Yeah, that's
very smart. So prompt training. Now, did you get support from Microsoft for your prompt training, or did you have to do this yourself? Or
we did it. We worked it out. And again, my role in Baker Tilly, I get to talk to people all around the world that are doing this. So I got a lot of input and feedback around what hasn't worked in other firms, and then what has worked. And there was a couple of firms that took a similar approach. Lots of lunch and learns, lots of drop-in sessions. But basically what I learned was it's an iterative, ongoing training exercise that we can learn from. And also, Copilot only adds value if you use it.
Yes.
So how do we make it habitual? Well, we keep reminding people and we give them examples. And we try and create these networks where people share a great idea around this 5-minute savings. I had one of our partners, he was using Copilot for a really cool thing, really simple. I said to him, are you happy to share that with anyone else? And he goes, oh, no, it's not that big a deal. It only saves me sort of 5 to 10 minutes. I said, yeah, but if that saves another 20 people 5 or 10 minutes, that's amazing. Yeah. Because, again, he was of the basis that, Copilot should be this amazing thing doing these amazing things, not celebrating, hey, it does this really small thing really well. Yeah.
That's really good.
Really change that focus.
So it sounds like you've been
Sorry,
Sorry,
go
Tom,
on.
you go.
How many users have you got on Copilot now? How far are you through your process?
Yeah, we're nearly at half the firm, and
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure we will give it to the whole firm. We're still working it out, but we're prepared to. But I'm personally just not convinced that. And if we take a step back, we're using M365 Copilot, a paid one.
Yeah.
But a lot of our use cases use Copilot Chat, which is the free one. And as much as the free Copilot Chat can't interrogate your documents natively, there's ways you can pull your documents out and use Copilot Chat. And if you don't have M365 Copilot and you want help you drafting an email, you can still use Copilot Chat. So you know, both products are being used quite extensively in our organisation.
Brett, can I ask, it sounds like you've been very strategic about this. What's the pre-work? Like what happened before this started? Was there some sort of business engagement? Was there some sort of planning? Was there a COE? How did you actually mobilise this?
I'd love to tell you we had a really strategic plan and so on. I think from the early days, the firm believed that AI will likely add value and will transform over time. We don't know what that time frame is. So that just set us up to being open to try stuff. So we just got the Copilot licenses and set up a pilot group, which was some advice from Microsoft. It was only then that we started thinking a little bit more strategically to say, okay, well, it's not quite what we expected, but it's working here. So then we started thinking about, okay, that's where we sort of switched to the $1 million $1 ideas and actually targeting it in that way. And it's changing and evolving, right?
Yep.
So I think Copilot, M365 Copilot, we're really seeing that as a personal productivity. The personalization bit's going to be interesting, particularly tone of voice. So let's double down on that as your personal assistant, your personal agent, right? And that's probably as far as we're thinking at this stage. And again, as I said, we report on the data, we report on total interactions, we report on average interactions per active user per day and look for that trend. And they're really our two sort of ROI measures on the investment. And that's where we're at. And we're probably just going to, that's it. And now we're focusing more on the custom AI apps, agents. Sorry to say, I didn't say agentic. And process enabling side of AI.
Yeah.
Do you see the agents playing into the M365 chat? Do you see that sort of M365 as the front end for it all, or do you just see there's multiple kind of ways to get into this system?
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because M365 is a personalization thing, right? And Copilot, one of the strengths around its privacy and security is it only has access to what your user account has. Now, making that a window for other agents, I think that's fine. I think we're thinking more just Teams in general might be the better place.
Okay. So literally you chat to a bot in Teams.
Yeah.
That's the way interface. Yeah, right.
Well, you can pin it in Teams. You can pin your Copilot into Teams and go in through that if you want.
Yeah. Look, at the moment, we've got, through one of our partners, we've got a custom little web interface, just a really basic UI that allows us to chat to documents, and we've got all the controls and so on. We are looking at, there's some really cool open source products now, anything LLM, Libra Chatter, some that give you the same functionality that you can plug into different models. So we're looking at some of those. So there might be, so give you an example in our tax advisory, we think there will be some chatbots that will give our staff easier access to search for information and do research. With those chatbots, though, and agents in general, what we've realized, and this is pretty common knowledge, is the narrower the subject matter, the more accurate and the less likely it is for hallucination, along with good prompts. So we do envisage a user interface that might be for tax. Well, here's your 20 agents, chatbots, which are focused on a specific area of tax, for example.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then for pick the one you like. Now, we do wonder whether we could not have a master chat over that interprets the question, passes that off to the specific agent bot. So that's potentially likely. But for the moment, I think people might be saying, well, I'm interested in this specific part. I'll go here.
Yeah.
Don't know. We're early days. We're just going to trial and see where it goes.
Yes.
So I really like how you've jumped in, Brett. Speaking to some customers, they're of the view that, well, we need to get all our ducks in a row. We need to cleanse all our data. We need to get our protections in place. And so they're, looking at a longer term before they get started. So it looks like you've sort of, I know, and I'm sure you're doing that stuff anyway. So, but what's your advice, and how are you balancing that need for short-term wins with setting up the basis for long-term success?
Yeah, look, and just to support that discussion, what I'm seeing globally with a lot of our partners is either people are really worried about data governance and data security, and that's just paralyzing them. They're not going any further. And the other biggest inhibitor for Copilot is the mismatch of expectations. Like they expect it to do something and it doesn't do that, so it fails very early. Look, I like to think our data governance is pretty good. It's not perfect. I don't think anybody is. We are a professional services organisation. We're professional workers. Part of our pilot was to really assess the potential risks and implications of what Copilot might surface. And we, to this day, have not really found it surfacing anything that it shouldn't from a privacy or security point of view. What it will surface is rubbish old documents that you do have stored that you may not want it to use. And again, I guess relying on our staff being professionals, and they're very professional given the work they do for our clients, that if it did surface something, to let us know straight away and we would address that. So my advice to firms all over the world is don't let the data governance and security thing paralyze you. You might be right to step gently and do that in a controlled manner with lots of awareness. Get your policy in place, get your communication in place. We all should be working on data governance, quality, DLP, retention, you name it anyway, right? And I think there's a really good groundswell where people are. Copilots and AI is really reinforcing the need for that, which is a positive byproduct of wanting to go forward. So I don't think people can afford to be paralyzed by that. Like this thing's coming whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
The other conversation I have with firms though is, well, if I don't start, could I be a fast follower in 6, 12, 18 months? And my answer to them is, yeah, maybe. I don't know. But the other thing I would say around our strategy is we're seeing Copilot and what we're doing in AI. We're talking about it a lot. Our managing partner references whenever he can, because we want to start lifting the digital and AI literacy of the firm in general. We don't want people to be afraid of this term. It's coming, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. And you can start that conversation now. Yeah. There is nothing stopping you doing that, right?
It's here, coming. It's here. Are you looking at any particular frameworks, any sort of governance frameworks, Brett, or are you just doing best practice? What are you?
Yeah, we're currently looking at the voluntary AI safety standards. I actually think that's a pretty good standard. It's pretty big, but it's pretty good. So that's sort of what we're landing on, and what we're finding is all the things we're doing are aligned to that. I'm also on I'm an advisory member on a government advisory group called the Safe AI Adoption. It's basically coming up with a tool to allow small and medium businesses, sort of up to 200, to adopt AI safely. And again, we're very much looking at the voluntary AI safety standards as underpinning that. But that's actually a really neat little framework. We're much bigger than those organisations, but there's some really good fundamentals in there that we're picking off. And that's SAM, SAAM. So yeah, we sort of went early with some just basic governance principles, and they've held us. That's held us in good stead.
Yeah, very good. Very good. So where to from here, Brett? So you're going to push harder on the agentic side of things, or you're pushing harder on the adoption? Where to?
So Copilot, first of all, we're just going to keep trying to do 30 new staff every 6 to 8 weeks. So that's locked and
very
loaded.
Sensible.
On our AI custom environment, we are about to implement an agentic framework in there, so we can use that. That just really simplifies the coding, really.
Yeah.
We're looking at workflow. There's an interesting product one of our vendors has introduced us to called N8N, which is an AI workflow tool. We're having a look at that. So in short, we've got some proof of concepts we're building, primarily based on RAG models. We're now trialing how that works with Power Automate. We want to play around with some agentic frameworks. We want to play around some automation. So we just want to build some more proof of concepts. And that for us is building the capability in my team, raising the understanding of what AI can do. Tom, you would have heard me say this before, but too often IT solutions are solutions looking for a problem.
Yes.
Right? And I really don't like that. I'd much rather come at it, what's the business problem? We'll find a great solution. I make an exception here at this point in time. And I am consciously...
You are on the record, Brett.
Because to some extent, until we understand what's possible...
it's
you've got to, right? You've got to lead. You've got to lead the charge.
And some of this could be really expensive. So I've got the permission to do some investment in trialing this stuff and learning.
Great.
I think we'll likely be tripping over opportunities in the business, and there's no shortage of demand from the business for things that they think would be AI and automation. So that's great. Yeah.
One more question for you. Has your budget increased based on the back of AI? Are you guys finding you're getting more money from the business?
Yeah, to an extent. We are doing some new work that is specifically AI focused that needs funding. Yes.
Yeah, good.
The reason I hesitate though is we're not necessarily treating an AI initiative any differently to
any project, right?
CRM or any other project, and very consciously. What influences what we work on is our strategy, which is leaning to automation and enablement, and therefore we are seeing more of an investment in time and money along those lines.
Yeah, good to hear.
I have heard, Brett, that fast follower comment a lot. And I like you, I think in other cases that may be fine, but not in this case, because if you're always, Microsoft, that'll come out in a few months, let's just wait. I don't think, that's my view, I don't think people can wait. I think they're just going to fall. If they're just going to wait till everything's perfect, the on-ramp's going to be there. So how do you see the AI changing the role of the CIO, if anything, in the next couple of years?
I don't think it's going to change much in the next couple of years, to be honest. I think we're on this. So I think it's horribly overhyped. If I drew the Gartner hype cycle for this, I think the trough of disillusionment isn't as low. I don't think it's going to drop as much. I think there is fundamental, fantastic enabling outcomes that we're going to see from AI. But I just don't think they're going to be, I think the expectations are too high and the timing is too short. Again, I could be completely wrong, but that's my view at the moment. I think what's important for me and my peers is to make sure we're educating ourselves. We can talk the talk. We go to sessions like yours last night and learn. Like, I do spend a lot of time just researching and learning, and I think that's whether it's AI now or it was blockchain 8 years ago or it's cloud, that's incumbent upon us as CIOs to do that. So our portfolio of attention is going to shift, and AI and AI-enabled automation is going to get a bigger part of that. And yes, we're going to have to look at potentially tackling the problem of agents being recognized as a user with licenses and so on. But I see it more as an evolution than a revolution.
I mean, you're very far ahead of almost everyone else I'm talking to, if not everyone else. I don't know about you, Tom, but I think Brett's definitely a leader. So congratulations.
Thank you,
Brett. So on that. And to everyone listening, thank you very much for joining the Leading IT podcast. If you want to reach out to any of us, Tom's also on LinkedIn, or you can reach out to me at jrubens@imperiumit.com.au. We'd love to have a chat with you about your Copilot projects or automation projects or cybersecurity. And thanks again, and look forward to seeing you on the next show. Thank you. Thanks, Brett. Thanks, Tom.